Big Scary, and this is my show. It's been a long time coming. With this little situation right here, I figured this was as good a time as any to finally put the show together. It's probably not going to be perfect the way I always like things to be, but hey, we're going to do it. In the future, we're going to have a better set, have guests, have special episodes and stuff, but for right now, we're just going to cover the issues that I care about most. It's going to be sports, politics, music. There's no telling what I'm going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get to our first story of ever. And it's UFC 249 right here in Jacksonville, Florida. This is going to be an amazing card. They've put together some of the best fights all together on one card that I think UFC's ever had. From top to bottom, it's going to be non-stop action. So let's start with looking at the first fight of the night. The first prelim fight is Ryan Spann, Sam Alvey. Now, it's two fighters who are got two different styles, and they're actually two different trajectories in their careers right now. Sam Alvey's a brawler who's lost several in a row, and Ryan Spann's a grappler who's won all of his UFC fights. I mean, this is a fight, it's pretty much Spann's to win whichever way he takes it. He's definitely far superior on the ground, but he's probably also better at stand-up too. I mean, Alvey's got a puncher's chance, but it's probably not a very good one. So in the first fight of the evening, I'd have to go, I think Ryan Spann's going to pull it out. Our second fight of the evening is Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa. Now, they're two guys who both young guys who both actually about the same point in their careers, and they're both grapplers. So this should be an interesting fight that might either play out on the ground, or a lot of times when two grapplers fight, a lot of times they both keep it standing up. So this will be interesting to see which way this one goes. Kind of picking Mitchell over Rosa, but we'll see. It could go either way. Our third fight of the evening, Vincent Luque versus Nico Price. This is another exciting fights of guys with similar styles. Both stand-up fighters. Luque's he's more technical than Nico. Nico's more unorthodox. He pulls out some weird finishes. He's had what was that? Hammer fist from the bottom knockout. I don't think I'd ever seen that before. But this should be an interesting fight right here. I'm kind of picking Luque over Price. But once again, it's another very well matched fight. So should be another barn burner. Our next fight of the evening will be Uriah Hall versus Jacare Souza. This is a different contrasting style fight. Hall, if you remember him from The Ultimate Fighter with all his flashy knockouts. So, I mean, you know what you're going to get from him. And Jacare Souza, I mean, the man's one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the UFC. He's kind of, his last several fights, he'd kind of been on the downswing. He'd even moved up to light heavyweight. That's usually when a fighter starts changing divisions, that's not a good sign. But we'll see. I'm picking Hall over Jacare. But you never know. If Jacare can get the fight to the ground, I mean, he can submit anyone. All right. So the next fight of the evening will be Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. Carla Esparza was the very first flyweight. Was it flyweight or strawweight? She was the very first strawweight champion in the UFC. She won the very first women's Ultimate Fighter and for strawweight. And so she's got that experience. And Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, she's predominantly a stand-up fighter, and so this should be an interesting fight. Another contrasting styles. Carlo Esparza more of a grappler, and Waterson more of the stand-up fighter. I don't know. I kind of feel like Michelle Waterson might be able to pull this one out. A lot of times she gets dominated being the smaller opponent, but in this fight they're a little bit closer to equal size. So I think I'm going to take Waterson this fight. Our next fight of the evening, Alexei Oleinik versus Fabricio Verdum. This is an interesting fight. Two predominantly ground fighters, who, I mean, at the top of the heavyweight heap when it comes to submission fighters. Oleinik, he always has this interesting Ezekiel choke. I know he's pulled it off more than anyone else has in the UFC. I mean, people know it's coming, and he still caught him. Verdum, I mean, what more can I say about his submission game? He tapped out Fedor, beat some of the best heavyweights in history, in MMA history. And also, I think he's got a little bit better stand-up game, actually a lot better stand-up game than Oleinik. So, I mean, Oleinik's probably going to want to get the fight to the ground as fast as possible, and that's not necessarily... he's not going to win there for sure. So I don't know. I'm picking Verdum this fight. I think he can win this fight whichever way it goes. Our next fight of the evening is Anthony Pettis versus Donald Cerrone. Now this should be an exciting fight. This is a rematch. They'd fought once before when Anthony Pettis was just on a hot streak and was blasting through the lightweight division. He does everything Donald does better, and he's a faster version, more flashier version of it. He stopped him with a body kick. I don't know. This is a tough fight to call. It's kind of which one of them has held up better. They both haven't looked great in their last couple fights. I mean, especially Donald's last fight against McGregor. I mean, I still don't know what happened exactly there, but I don't know. This might. I kind of think it's going to go the same way of their first fight with Pettis picking up the win, but it should be once again a very exciting fight. That was the main event of the prelims. So starting our main card will be Greg Hardy of NFL fame versus Yorgan De Castro. They're both two young fighters when it comes to actual experience. Not many fighters, or not many fights for either one of them. But they both definitely come to bang. I mean, this is one of those fights that do not blink, folks. Do not blink. Because someone's probably going to sleep. I mean, it could be one of those fights where it's just two guys who are both scared of each other's power, so they never necessarily want to put themselves in harm's way. But I'm kind of thinking the way that I've seen both of them fight, that it should be a pretty exciting fight, and they both should throw caution to the wind. Kind of picking Hardy with a knockout in this, but it could go either way. De Castro is no slouch. Our next fight of the main card, Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar. Jeremy Stephens is a veteran. He's fought in multiple weight classes. Always brings the fight. Calvin Kattar, he's an up and comer. He's looked pretty good his last couple fights. Kind of this, I don't know. This is a kind of a veteran versus a young guy fight, and I kind of feel like the way I've been seeing Kattar, I think he's gonna piece up Jeremy Stephens. Stephens always has that one punch knockout power that you never can discount, but I kind of feel like Kattar's gonna outbox him this fight and just be one step ahead of him the whole fight. Our next fight of the evening, Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. if everyone who's seen these guys fight knows that these guys are coming to murder somebody. They both have ridiculous power. I mean, both of them highlight reeled Alistair Overeem. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, Ngannou knocked Overeem off the ground, and Rosenstruik completely ripped his face in half with a shot. I mean, there's no telling. I mean, this is one of those fights that you'd like to say that there's no way that it's not going to be boring. But once again, Ngannou, one time when it came to Derek Lewis, those were two guys that you didn't think there was any chance that was going to be a boring fight, and then they just kind of stared at each other for 3 rounds. So since then, Ngannou's looked better, and so he hasn't done that again. So we'll see. This is going to be interesting to see. I really don't even know who to pick in this fight, because Ngannou, he seems like he might have a little more power, but I almost feel like Rosenstruik, he can mix it up a little bit more. He's able to throw in a little bit more kicks. I don't even know who to call with this. I'm gonna throw it up in the air and just say Ngannou wins. Our co-main event of the evening, Henry Cejudo versus Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz, off of almost a 4-year layoff. The guy just can't stay healthy. I mean, in the last 8 years, he's only fought 6 times. I mean, it's insane that he's only got 6 fights in the UFC in his whole career. But, I mean, as it is right now, he is still probably the best bantamweight of all time. And Henry Cejudo, he's on a streak right now. First, I mean, I kind of had, when he beat Mighty Mouse, I kind of had Mighty Mouse with the win, but it could have gone either way. But then once Cejudo knocked out Dillashaw, then finished Marlon Moraes, I mean, it's like, okay, and that was at 2 different weight classes. I mean, this dude is legit. So, I mean, this is going to be an interesting fight. I mean, who is Dominick Cruz gonna have any ring rust, or is Henry Cejudo gonna look amazing like he has lately? I did notice in the when they were doing one of his interviews that Henry Cejudo had a large cut that had started to heal a little bit over his eye, but it still looked like it's definitely still damaged. It'll be interesting to pay attention to that when the fight comes, because I mean that interview was at most a week away. There's no way that unless he's Wolverine or something, there's no way that cut heals in time. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, I can't pick against Dominick Cruz. He even with his long layoffs, he's always looked amazing every time he's come back. I think he's gonna have a little bit too much size for Cejudo, so I'm picking Dominick Cruz to regain his belt, and it should be an amazing fight. And the main event of the evening is Tony Ferguson against Justin Gaethje. Now, this is the fight everyone's been waiting for. This is, I mean, I guess you've been waiting for the Tony Ferguson-Khabib fight, but, I mean, okay, this is the second fight you've been waiting for. I mean, this is going to be absolute action. There has been yet to be a fight that Tony Ferguson's been in that wasn't exciting, and there's yet to be a fight that Justin Gaethje's been in that hasn't been exciting. So, I mean, this is sure to be insane. You know that Justin Gaethje is going to come out and put on the pressure from the first bell on. It's just been the issue with him has been keeping it up and against the top competition, and it's going to be tough because you know that Tony Ferguson can keep that pace. You know he can keep that pace. He's just got too many weapons. Tony Ferguson is like he's so unorthodox and stand up, but then he's also just as unorthodox on the ground. I mean, rolling for knee bars. I mean, you never know what you're gonna get with Tony Ferguson. I kind of have to go with Tony Ferguson for the win. And just making this possibly one of the best cards in UFC history. So there we go. That was my first episode. Yeah, there's gonna be many more. Let's see where you can find me. You can find me on Facebook, Big Scary, or Trauma Television, because this is a Trauma Television production. You can find me on Twitter at Big Scary, and on YouTube at Trauma Television. So yeah, there we go, and that's our show. And like Martin Luther King always said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice.